And the winner is... Welcome back to the shop and the channel. Damn, that was overly dramatic. Anyhow, the winner of the next project. So the next project is the drill press. So let me get started on a description of where we're going with this and some of the parts that I'm going to be using. First off, there is a link in the description to the video I watched that inspired what I'm going to do to this, which is the hand crank out here and the locking mechanism over here. I'm going to be using some of the parts off of this table that came with it. Now, I was not using the fence that came with it because I wanted a taller fence, and it worked fine in the old drill press. It won't work here because of the length of these handles. I'm only about 4 inches from the table right now, and this is screwed in place, and of course the handles don't interfere with it at all. I'm going to put in 4 Tee tracks. There's going to be one here and here, and another one here and here. These are going to be outside, right out here, to hold the fence in place. A little closer look is I have these little Woodpecker's Tee Track flip stops. These are made of a fiber reinforced plastic. They seem to be rigid enough for my needs. And I mean, I never put something against a stop and push it. I just put a stop and just hold it there. So we're good there. Move this out of the way. In here, it's incorporated a square hole for a sacrificial piece of MDF. What I'm going to do is a round hole, slightly off center, so the disc will rotate around and you can change your work spot a couple of times before you have to alleviate yourself of the pretty well damaged insert, sacrificial insert. Again, I'm going to be doing the crank here and here, and the reason I'm using the plywood instead of MDF or particle board is for that. I need a good hard fastening surface, strong fastening surface to fasten the pivot points or the holding points to hold the shaft in place. One here and one here, one here and here, so that it holds it in place. And since this table rotates with the everything on it, so the handles and all will rotate with it. The trick is I want to get this the new table dead center and square with the drill press. It shouldn't be too hard. So there we go. That's where I'm at right now. So let's get started by cutting out the blank for the new top, cutting the notch in it. The hole I'm going to do with a router and a jig. I'm going to cut the jig on the CNC machine so it's nice and clean, and then cut the hole into the plywood, and then cut out the center of that, and so that the new piece, the center sacrificial piece, will sit on the shoulder and you can rotate it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to laminate. I'm going to drill the hole here. Do the hole here first, after I do everything else. Then laminate it, and then cut the dados with the laminate in place. And then I can take a trim router, and cut the laminate out here. But first I want to get this cut out, indexed on the table, and then we can start from there. And there it is. That's my blank. That's where I'm starting from. Now we have to do the notch first for the post. Now remember, there's a rack gear on the right side of the post, but for symmetry, go beyond the rack gear and then go the same distance on the other side of the post, just for symmetry, and that's all that's for. But we're going to do measurements to make it correct. So we're going to measure to the center of this, and that's where the cut will come in, and then we'll do the cut and the roundy bit. The roundy bit, you know, the post is round. Mistakes were made. We must admit to our mistakes. So I cut this symmetrically, as you can see across the back. Well, it turns out, of course, the locking mechanism for the table is behind the shaft by about an inch, the post for about an inch. So that becomes something else at a future date. And this is the new one, asymmetric. this goes back far enough so that I can get, there we go. So I got far enough to I can get the mounting pieces under here for the arm that's going to come over here so you can unlock the shaft for up and down movement. I got to go in now, I got to sand this, make it a little prettier. So yep, mistakes were made, mistake fixed. And now that the mistake was fixed, last segment, it's in place where I want it. It's indexed this way, it's indexed this way. I went a different direction in the blocking underneath to line it up, and I'll show you. Snug fit. So you can see where the original blocking was, here, here, and here, and here, and these broken off places. What I did is I went with blocking that you can see is fit directly into these diagonal slots, and that way it can't move, it can't shift. It can only fit one way. And what I've done is I've inserted some brass inserts, these 832 brass inserts in all four of these, and I'll make a cleat that screws into that and holds it in place. And as you see, nice snug fit, doesn't move, nice and tight. So I've marked out the surface of where I want things to be mounted. Now, because I'm only using one thickness of plywood, and there's going to be 3/8 inch dados run across this thing, there's going to be a cleat across here and a cleat across there to keep it stable and stiff. Let me show you my markings on the table where things are going to go. So here's where the dados are going to go, relatively speaking. I've got full length tracks that are going to go in here. I don't need it back here, but what the hell, why not? This is tentatively where the circular piece of sacrificial material is going to go, so you can rotate it around. That's the center point of the drill index, the quill. Now, this is kind of set for the largest Forstner bit I have, but thinking about it, I think I want to move this further this way. And whenever you use Forstner bits, use a backing piece of backing wood. Don't drill through to this. But for doing regular drill bits, smaller Forstner bits, that's fine. So I might move this forward just a little bit, to be determined. So the next thing I want to do is make the jig for cutting this hole with the router, and I'll do that on the CNC. That little interlude without music was the CNC cutting out the jig for routing the hole in the platform. I may change this again. I'm considering laying down all of the channel, the Tee Track, and then filling in with 1/2 inch plywood. You know? So I've got a little more thickness here. It won't hurt anything. It's only going to add another 1/2 inch, and then I can cut the hole down. And I can go 1/2 inch down here. It doesn't leave much of a lip to hold that in place, and with pressure coming down from the quill, it may cause issues. So I'm thinking about doing the 1/2 inch plywood on top. So watch this space and see if I make another change. Different day. 4x8 sheet of Formica. I thought it was an off-brand. Turns out it's Formica actually. And rolled up in a box. And I have to roll this out so I can cut off what I want, then roll it back in, the remainder, and put it in here and then store it in the basement for other projects. So, like unloosening a spring. Has a band around it. I want to roll it that way because reasons. Okay, I'm going to cut it with a knife. This is going to go boom. This is going to spring out all over the place. This is really stiff stuff. Voila. Now, it's got a matte finish, which is what I was looking for. Now I really only need like 2 feet of it in this direction. Yeah, to cover the top of the table and edge band it. What I mean by edge banding in this case is I decided to not add a piece of any 1/2-inch plywood to the top, and I boxed it instead. I boxed it in with bracing, so it's nice and flat and stays nice and flat. And what I need is that much wide and some extra. Also, I designed and machined up the inserts. They're going to go in the hole, which will be right about here. They're MDF with little finger slots for grabbing them out of the insert when I'm done. So I want to mark this. I happen to have, I think I still have it. I thought I had it. Oh, there it is. Silver Sharpie. This is good for marking things like this. That's why I want to cut it off, and I can get the top out of that, and I can get the edge banding out of this. It's only going to be banded along these surfaces here, the sides and the top. And being the good little woodworker I am, I dutifully miter the corners of the boxing in of the thing. Had a little mishap with the CNC, not really worth going into, but suffice it to say, a $6 repair is better than a $100 repair on your CNC. It's just a cable. I need to replace the cable. So I need to cut this out, cut this off. Basically, you score it and you can break it if you do it correctly. I've got a scoring tool over here I think I can use. Turns out scissors will work. Although I did break a piece right there, it doesn't matter. It's not going to interfere with the work that has to be done because I still have plenty over here. There you go. To do the top, and then I can cut the sides out with here. I cut up a little notch over here to put onto my routing template. Actually, the height adjustment I made for adjusting the height and the depth of the cut, which is the template and the depth of the insert. And I put a little bit of this on top of that so I can get the depth correct. I might go a little deeper and I can use other things to bring it back up to size. So anyway, there it is. I now have my stuff that I need for doing the top. Put this out of harm's way. Now I got to roll this up, put it back in the box. Hopefully it'll fit back in the box. So now, I'll do that off camera. So now I need to, I'm waiting for one more tool. I needed to get another router bit to do the hole correctly in the, in the top, the top. And it also will actually work out well for the Tee Tracks, which I have in place. So let me get this done and we'll move on. Yes, I finally did get the Formica back in the box. That was a fun adventure. I don't recommend it. So anyhow, to say that it took me a while to dial in the router for doing the insert pocket in the tabletop for the saw would be an understatement. This is attempts 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6, and 6 was finally the winner. And the reason it was a bit of a challenge, let me show you what I'm talking about here. This is milled out at 5 inches exactly. This is milled out at 4.9 inches. So it fits properly, not too snug and easy to get in and out, grab it with your fingers. But the trick was, this is going to be covered, well, the table is going to be covered with Formica. And Formica is 1/32 of an inch thick. So this had to stand exactly 1/32 of an inch proud of the surface of the table, so that when the Formica is on there, it's absolutely flush. And that's what I've got here now. I've got the router set up correctly, so when I finally mill, which I'm going to do soon, the tabletop for the drill press, and put the Formica on, then these two surfaces will be flush with one another. That's what made it a bit challenging. Got to do the math. I stuck down the template, jig, whatever, with double-sided tape. I've accounted for that, although it's extremely thin. I think I've accounted for that in the depth cut. And it's going to be 2 passes with a plunge router. I'm going to pre-drill a hole to get the bit down into the workpiece, and then work my way around the workpiece with the first pass, then spin the I forget what they call this thing, where you kind of set the adjustments and turn the little knob at the bottom and get different depths. So I got 2 stops. One is the first cut, the next one is the second cut, after which I cut out the centerpiece and go from there. And this is like the final cut on this thing for this. I mean, this is it. I mean, this has got to be right. If it's not right, I'm going to have to make adjustments. So let's get started. Let me get my ears on and my tunes on. Drill the 3/4 inch hole. And vacuum up the mess. Okay, now we're going to make a lot of noise, so let me get the bit down into its first depth and lock it in place. It's got room to move. Put the dust collection on. Hopefully it'll stay on. And let's cut some wood. All right, just give you a better view of what we're doing here. Let me bring the camera down and I'll show you how I did this initially, and then we'll make the last cut. Template nicely glued in place, or stuck in place with the double-sided tape. You'll notice when I made the initial cut, I went around a couple more times to make sure I got everything cleared out. And then it's the 3/4 inch hole. And next I'm going to go back, drop the bit down to the next stop, come in and make the final cut. Then I use a saber saw to go ahead and cut out the centerpiece, and then we'll test the insert. And always wait for the router bit, and you probably see me in other videos not being patient enough. Always wait for the router bit to come to a stop. I mean, I could have popped the router body up, but still, always wait for the router bit to come to a stop. Now, the next trick is to peel off the template, which I'm going to use a thin putty knife, get under it and give it a pry, and there it is. Get the double-sided tape off. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Pulled up a little bit of veneer. This is not the most expensive or the best birch plywood you ever come across. This is from the big box store. I really should be using, I would love to have used the really good stuff from Rockler's, or one of the other usual suspects. But for this particular project, I don't see spending that kind of money. All right, so that's got a nice thing going on there. I think it's ready. So now I want to do is take the saber saw, and I've got to move this away from the workbench because I don't know how far the saw blade is going to go in reality. So let's move this from the, move it out so it's like that, and that way I don't do any screwing of anything up. And now I've got to very carefully go around. I'm using a down cut blade, by the way, so it reduces the chip out on the top of the cut. So let's go ahead and make the cut. Takes care of that. Now there's some little fuzzes hanging up here. So I'm going to take my oscillator, give it a little bit of a clean up. Now, I've got to get I've got an insert around here somewhere. Where'd my insert go? I'll grab another one. I got plenty of these. Yeah, the CNC. I had them. I got a cut sheet, a cut thing that cuts out 3 of these at a time down inside. And now I get a piece of my Formica, and I'm leaving stuff all over the place. And that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. So, like I said, the insert is proud of the surface, but it's only 1/32 of an inch proud. So it definitely allows for the Formica and the insert to remain at the same level on the table. So work pieces slide across nicely. You don't get any wobble in your work pieces. So that was the big tough one. I'm going to laminate it now. I'm going to do the sides first, and unlike a fine piece of kitchen furniture, I'm not going to miter the corners. I'm just going to lay on the sides and then lay the front on top of those, trimming them each time, and then laminate the top, and then come back with my a trim bit inside here and clear it from the hole here, and we'll be ready to go to the next step, which will be cutting in the miter, the dados for the Tee Tracks. On second thought, let's end this episode here. It's bumping up a little past 20 minutes. Again, another video that's longer than it really needs to be. So the next episode, we'll go ahead and do the laminations and get the gearing in place so I can do the hand crank out here and all that. And then we'll be done. That works really nice. I like that. So until next time, make great things out of wood and make a nice table for your drill press.